In this video, we're going to talk about 3 of the eeriest and most intriguing coincidences in history. So, buckle up and get ready to learn about them. The Titanic was a British passenger liner that set sail on its maiden voyage from Southampton, England, to New York City on April 10, 1912. It was the largest, most luxurious, and safest ship of its time, and it was thought to be unsinkable. Unfortunately, as we all know, the Titanic hit an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sank, taking more than 1,500 lives with it. Now, let's talk about the Titan. The Titan is a fictional ship that was the subject of a novel called Futility, written by Morgan Robertson and published in 1898. The Titan, much like the Titanic, was described as the largest and most luxurious ship afloat, and both ships were touted as unsinkable. In the novel, the Titan hits an iceberg and sinks in the North Atlantic, just like the Titanic. The similarities between the two ships are remarkable. Both the Titan and the Titanic were around 800 feet long, had a maximum speed of around 24 knots, and both had a triple-screw propulsion system. They both could carry around 3,000 people and also lacked enough lifeboats to accommodate all passengers and crew. Of course, there are some differences between the two ships. For example, the Titan was built in the United States and the Titanic in the United Kingdom. The Titan was also 70 feet shorter than the Titanic and had a different passenger capacity. However, the similarities between the two ships are striking. So, how did this coincidence happen? Well, there is no evidence to suggest that anyone involved in the design or operation of the Titanic was aware of the novel. It is more likely that the similarities between the two ships are simply a coincidence, albeit a very unsettling one. The story of the Titanic is already haunting enough, but the fact that a similar ship was written about over a decade before the Titanic sank is truly chilling. While it's unclear how this coincidence came to be, it remains a reminder of the dangers of human overconfidence and the importance of preparedness and safety measures in all aspects of life. Vesna Vulovic was born on January 3, 1950, in Belgrade, Yugoslavia. In 1972, Vulovic was working on JAT Airways Flight 367, flying from Stockholm to Belgrade. The plane had a stopover in Copenhagen, where Vulovic and the rest of the crew picked up 19 more passengers. Shortly after the plane took off from Copenhagen, an explosion occurred in the baggage compartment of the plane. The explosion caused the plane to break apart at an altitude of 33,000 feet, and all 27 passengers and crew members were killed instantly. However, Vulovic survived the crash. She fell from the plane and landed on a snow-covered slope of Mount Jastrabak, near the town of Križevac in central Serbia. She was found by a local villager, who heard her moaning in pain. Despite suffering from a fractured skull, 2 broken legs, and 3 broken vertebrae, Vulovic was still alive. What's eerie about this story is that it wasn't the first disaster that Vulovic had survived. In 1966, when Vulovic was just 16 years old, she was on a train from Belgrade to Dubrovnik that derailed and plunged into a river. The accident killed 19 people, but Vulovic survived with a broken skull and several other injuries. In 1971, just 1 year before the plane crash, Vulovic was involved in another accident. She was on a bus that also crashed into a river, and she was in a coma for several days after the accident. Despite her injuries, she made a full recovery and returned to work as a flight attendant. After her recovery from the plane crash, Vulovic continued to work as a flight attendant until her retirement in 1990. She is in the Guinness World Record for surviving the highest fall without a parachute. Vesna Vulovic passed away on December 23, 2016, at the age of 66. She remained a symbol of hope and inspiration until the very end. In 1975, a tragic incident occurred in Hamilton, Bermuda, that left many people scratching their heads in disbelief. A young man named Erskine Lawrence Eben was killed by a taxi while riding his moped. He was only 17 years old at the time of his death. Exactly 1 year later, on April 12, 1976, Eben's older brother, Neville Eben, was killed by the same taxi, carrying the same passenger, while Neville was riding his moped in the same spot where his brother had been killed the year before. Neville was also 17 years old at the time of his death. The coincidence of two brothers being killed exactly 1 year apart in the same spot by the same driver is truly eerie and has left many people wondering if there was more to the story than just a tragic coincidence. The taxi driver responsible for both accidents was never charged in either case due to a lack of evidence. Some people speculate that the driver may have been involved in some way, while others believe it was simply a bizarre coincidence. The story of the Eben brothers' tragic deaths has become the subject of many urban legends and ghost stories in Bermuda. Some people claim that the brothers' spirits still haunt the spot where they were killed, and that their apparitions can be seen riding their mopeds late at night. Please support me by smashing the like button and subscribing to my channel. Turn on all notifications for new upcoming videos. Please leave a comment on what other stories you like to hear.